The procedure to create an MVC app has changed a little bit with one of the updates. So make sure that you have applied all of the updates. Otherwise, your screens are going to look a little different than this video. So the first thing that you should do is create a new project. And then you want to make sure that it's C# is your language. By default, it'll show all languages, but if you have been using Visual Studio, it might have a different language selected. So make sure it is C#. And we're going to keep all platforms, all project types, and then we're just going to search for the MVC template. And we want ASP.NET Core Web App Model View Controller. That is the one that we want. So the old version of VS 2019 had create at this point, and the newest update has next. So hopefully this won't change again before you guys see this. As far as a project name, we are going to call this one MVC First App. And I'm just going to go ahead and have mine saved into the repo folder. And we do want the solution and the project in the same folder. And so at this point, we would be able to hit create. Now we have to click next. And it's this next section that has changed. Because now we get additional information. And before, it showed us a completely different screen. So on additional information, you want to make sure .NET Core 3.1 long-term support is selected. Normally, when we create an app, we do pick an authentication type just because the built-in authentication is pretty good and we don't want to reinvent the wheel. But to keep it simple, we're going to set it to none this time. And then configure for HTTPS should be on. And so that is really all you need to do is just kind of check those settings and click on create. Okay, and then it should bring you into your Visual Studio window. If you can't see the Solution Explorer, you can go ahead in the View menu and select it. Because right out of the box, it creates a whole structure for us. And we can actually run the app just like this. Okay, so right out of the box, it runs. But you'll see that there is a controller folder, a model folder, and a view folder. And inside the controller folder, we have the home controller. And then if you take a look at the home controller, okay, you will see that there is a logger, which we don't really do much with. The more important action method is index, because this is kind of the starting point for the application. So when we launch, it automatically looks for the home controller and the index action method. Okay, so it's going to run through this action method when we launch the app. And let's see, another thing I wanted to point out is that the controllers are all C# files. Okay, so they end in CS. And you'll notice that when we create controllers, they all have a name, but at the end it says controller. That is a convention in MVC. Okay, the only model we have right now are for errors. And then we have a home view folder that corresponds to our home controller. And if we look, you'll see there is an index view and a privacy view. And so in the home controller, you'll notice there's an index action method. It says return view. The view that it retrieves is the one that corresponds to the action method name. So the action method name is index. So it goes into the home view folder and looks for the index action method. And you'll see here, there is a privacy action method. So to display that page, it's going to go into the home controller. Okay, so it goes into the corresponding, or the home view folder, the corresponding view folder, and then it grabs the view whose name matches our action method. And that is another convention. So when it says return view, the view that it's going to look for is the one that's name is the same as our action method. And of course, there's ways to route it to different views, and we're actually going to take a look at that today. But I just kind of wanted to show you how this is wired up by default. And we're going to go ahead and run this. So what we need to do is click the arrow next to IIS Express, and we're going to choose MVC First App. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and click on that. And it should do a build, and as long as there's no errors, and there shouldn't be because we haven't done anything, it should open up in a browser window. And as I mentioned, by default, it goes to the home controller index action method. So what we are looking at is the view that goes with the index. So as I mentioned, it's going to then, if we're in here, which is where it goes by default, okay, then it's going to look for the view that corresponds to the name of our action method. So it's going to look for the home folder because we're in the home controller. So it looks for the home view folder, and then it grabs that index view because the name corresponds. So that is what we are looking at here. And then if we click on privacy, okay, so what is it doing now? It's looking at the home controller privacy action method. Privacy action method, which is this, is returning the view. So it's going to go down to the home view and return this privacy view. Okay, and that's the code, and that's how it looks when the code runs. And then if we click back on home, it's gone back to home and index. Now, could we just key in index up here? Yes, we can. Okay, but you don't have to because that is the default.